Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it's Wednesday, and it was definitely a very eventful day. You know, as quiet as it was, there was lots of action in certain areas. The tape did feel a little weak, just because high beta was off, while you had the banks on fire, you had drillers on fire, refiners on fire, oil was on the move, and I'm just going to get to the charts, because I don't actually have a lot of time here, because things are moving around. Look at the chart of the SPX. You know, we've been talking about this range, and we've been talking about it for 2015. This was your low end of the range when it held right here. Then you had your move to highs. We had our pullback into the mid end of the range. You know, small move into another mid end of the range. We wound up holding it yesterday, and now, you know, coming right back up to the area where it poses some resistance. So with that being said, every time maybe we come out with a few more earnings reports that are somewhat solid, we see a little bit more traction to perhaps get above this. Some things that have been positive. Intel, you know, was priced for failure, and came out. It wasn't so bad with the strong dollar. Broke above this downtrend we talked about. They didn't just sell it off, closed green. So now see if this builds. So that puts some of the semis back in the game. Yesterday, JP Morgan came out with a strong report. We said, let's see if it holds the gap and makes highs. It's very relevant, with also Goldman leading the way. And, you know, you have the banks in the game. You know, this is a very strong move by JP Morgan. Here was your gap up yesterday. Talked about how it needs to clear 6250 to get better, and boy, did it clear that area. Now it's at highs, which is very healthy. Goldman Sachs also has numbers tomorrow, so some guys were avoiding it. But, you know, if you got involved when it broke above 193, we said if it can break above 193, you can get a nice trade back to highs, and there you go through highs. You know, I'm in Morgan from yesterday, and Morgan's actually finally starting to have a nice move. So hopefully that continues. Its earnings aren't out till next Monday, so we'll see if it can make its way back to highs beforehand. We'll see if Goldman can help, or Citigroup, I think, is also out. Bank of America, which is below all the moving averages, you know, and been a laggard, came out with a laggard type report. So if you just didn't trade Bank of America, which none of us did, you know, fine. I took actually some calls yesterday, sold them on the open, lost half my premium, and said, I'm done with this. It's a laggard. It was worth a try. They disappointed, or they just were lukewarm. As far as, you know, stocks, you know, Apple still not really doing much. It's caught in this range. It's real tight. I guess it's going to have to wait for a real good earnings report. Seems though like every time it holds the 50-day, maybe you get another little bump up. We'll see what happens. Netflix after hours. You know, I don't know exactly what they reported, you know, and everyone, if you shorted it because of what looked at face value, you got your clock cleaned. If you traded it the way we trade after hours, like Sperling did, congrats to him. You know, I missed this, or I just wasn't really looking to put on risk. I had a few other things going on, and it went through this 486 pivot and blasted off. It was at 535, okay, all the way up here for, you know, for those that got involved. And if you bought the calls, maybe you short verse it to lock it in, whatever you do. But on the weekly chart, lots of people participating here. Okay, as far as technically rock solid. Usually when they're up here, it's up here for a reason. And I think no matter what, they were breaking it above here as their shorts have been on the ropes, and it's been a very, very strong name. I don't know where it's going to open tomorrow, but all in all, if, you know, before it looked like people had success trading it through this action area. When you trade stocks after earnings, after hours, you need to know the pivot, because when it gets through there, it could be explosive. It went 30, 40 bucks, hit 540, and now I don't know. We'll see what happens next, but if you took the trade, they can't take it away from you. As far as in my morning note, I talked about maybe Google hitting a bottom, because finally the antitrust news was out, and, you know, there you go. Also covered it in the video, how you had your double top here, that maybe, you know, now that the news is out, you have a double bottom, and you had a good little RDR around this, you know, 530, 574. So even if you didn't buy it when it was red, you waited for it to trigger. You got yourself a nice cash flow trade. I don't think it's a blockbuster, but maybe you get a little bit more follow through. So that was just something to do. As far as the solar names, early on, I said, wow, look at the solar names. They're looking good. You know, nice long base. They've tried a few times to break out. Tried here, failed. Tried here, failed. This one looks pretty clean. And if you know, you put volume on here, or basic studies, and then you go in there, you'll see there was, you know, volume attached. Look at this lone volume spike. The last other times it wasn't really volume, so maybe that's ready to go. So I am long this. I'm also long SPWR. Try to look for the two best solar names. This one also looks like it's just starting to break out. Big pro gap, never filled it, traded through here. So we'll see what happens. I don't particularly love the solar sector, but they're above the 8 and 21 day. They look good, so I'm in them. Some guys were looking at Tesla. Tesla still looks like it's just, trying to, stay above that descending channel, and it has. And now the question is, can it get going again? Here is this channel here. It broke above, and now it's going sideways. So maybe with a little bit more sideways action, it continues. Amazon, right at highs. It was weak most of the day, but let me just take the volume out, just because it kind of skews how we look at this normally. Going sideways, and looks like it's poised. If I guess, if they show some earnings power and some better margins, this 390 is not going to be a problem. Okay, you had a really big gap up after last quarter, gave you a move, then consolidated above this 365, and now it seems like it's going to be one of those that can continue. So, don't be just short on the brain Amazon, and we'll see where we are a little closer next week. Facebook was definitely a little weaker today. I'm not sure why, but Facebook tends to try and mess with everybody as much as possible. So I wouldn't say game over for Facebook. It's still holding this above the channel here. It still has earnings to come out. Lots of nice trades along the way, but it gets a little messy. So at this point, still above this area. Doesn't really get better until it clears 84, and I don't think it's going to be clearing 86 until we see the results. Twitter, it also definitely a little wishy-washy, not the end of the world, but there are times when it's clean, and there's times when it's when it's just a hard trade. Here's when it got a little clean. Here was a nice clean move before getting choppy. Here you got a 2-day move before coming all the way back in. It's still hovering above this trend line, but it's definitely a little bit, I guess wishy-washy should be a technical term, because that's what Twitter is right here. But all in all, still in the game, and it's still above the 8-day, above the 21-day. So keep it on the radar. Just don't overtrade it. Oil, I've joked about the bottom being in. I talked about the 65% chance that the bottom was in, not because of the feasibility study, not because of the think tank, because this was a wide range engulfing day. Look at that. Boom. Tried to make a new low and powered above. Yes, the next day you didn't have follow through, but that just is the way the market's been. It's a little bit tougher. And then since then, it's been trending higher. So today everyone said, is the bottom in? Could you buy oil? Well, they're buying it after a 20% move off the lows, right back at resistance. That's why you don't follow the TV. Chances are there's some guys on there that are decent, but I'm just saying in general, this is the first time I think I heard people say, oh, the bottom is in oil after a move from the lows into resistance. That's, again, that might be even why the retail traders or retail investors have a hard time, because they don't see when things turn. They get in there when there's some excitement. And even though it can perhaps go higher, probably not the day to initiate a new trade. XLE also. When we were looking at the XLE and kept putting it in my morning note, I was talking about this spot. Okay, remember this wide range bar right here. Okay, this was the wake-up call for the XLE. And then what did it do? It held half of it this entire time. And that was your entry. As it holds up here, breaks above, there's an entry. Still wasn't the easiest trade, and now it's extending. And at this point, everyone's talking about buying this sector, and now it might even come into some pressure here at the 200-day. So if you're looking for your first buy now, as this gap gets filled, as it pushes by the 200-day, you just realize where it came from. And look, if you bought it on the red dog reversal right here and said, I'm not going to be a seller unless it breaks it, you're still in a really nice trade, and there are a lot of stocks in there that are probably moving really well. The software, the security software stocks look good. I went over this chart in the morning call, coming into this area. Nice little bull flag. We'll see if we get some continuation there. I still think FireEye looks good. There's some kind of big security conference, and these charts are starting to look much better. It broke above this little downtrend here, held above it, nice little bull flag. I'm along this one. I was long CYBR overnight. I took the trade just because, I don't know, it was, a lot of things were working at one point. So here I'm in this, and I guess if we were to get above this 43.28, perhaps I add to it to see if it can get back to highs. Might not be tomorrow, might be next week, or it might be tomorrow. Who knows? At this point, it's looking a little bit better. And that's your morning call, or that's the type of day. That's your morning call. That's the recap. Lots of stock on the move. Does it feel as if we could break out and have some traction? Yes. Is it going to be in a straight line with power? I don't think so. That's not the way that this year has been. You also have the Russell trying to break above a prior high. That's pretty healthy. You also have the mid caps that are right around here. Small topping tail, but I just think that, again, that's the way it is with no power, no real extension, but looks okay above all the moving averages. And we'll see what happens next. You have oil away from the danger zone. Does it mean you buy it today? No. Was there chances to buy it? Yes. Does it mean you have to short it? No. Also, sometimes things are hard to buy. Doesn't mean you have to just short it. You wait for the setup. You have the banks that were a laggard most of the year having some follow through. You have JP Morgan breaking out. You just had Goldman break out. You have Morgan in the game. We'll see what Citi does. You have high beta tech taking turns. You have social media taking to this. Lots of things going on, both from the long and short side. So just, get your plan. Hopefully you're reading my note every day. I have about 30 names on there. Every few sessions, something's triggering. The SHAK was awesome for us 2 days ago, and now all of a sudden everyone's talking about it on TV. Another funny thing. Okay, they don't talk about it here. When we talk about it, when it's real interesting, right? Looked awesome right here. Looked as if it was going to break above 51, maybe get above the post-IPO high. Boom, boom. And then on this day, everyone starts talking about it, and now people will probably start trading it here. Anyway, that's just the way the market is. Hope you had a good day. Hope you're having a decent week, and just keep making progress, keep learning, and it's getting nicer out. So enjoy the spring. Life's too short. Have a good night.